rewind the clock a couple of years and CBD was everywhere. And I'm sure you bought it hoping that it will cure your inflammation, hoping that it will cure your joint pain. Vigorous Steve here. Let's discuss a couple supplements that time forgot. I'm not saying that these supplements are not going to work, but they have very limited practical applications. If you were to rewind the clock a couple years and look into the muscle mags or the advertisements on the internet, you would think that these supplements are the best thing ever, God's gift to man, the cure for every known disease or issues that we face in the fitness and bodybuilding community. But again, they haven't stood the test of time, and now a couple of years later, we're left with maybe one, at best two practical applications, and that's why it seems that everybody has already forgotten about these supplements. Before we get into it, please like the video, leave a comment for the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Let's start with HMB, Hydroxy Methylbutyrate, also known as Beta-Hydroxy Beta-Methylbutyrate, which is a metabolite of the amino acid leucine, which of course is known for inducing protein synthesis when there's sufficient amounts of leucine present, either from branched-chain amino acids or essential amino acids, or from a meal containing a sufficient amount of leucine. HMB, being its metabolite, is said to induce mTOR, specifically mTORC1, and was touted to improve muscle growth or reduce the breakdown of muscle during strenuous exercise, or improve the adaptation to aerobic exercises. And it was even said that HMB would induce fat loss. Right? All of that aside, none of that actually played out in the real world. The only thing that I noticed myself when I experimented with HMB supplementation, 2 grams about an hour before the workout, which in many cases gave me terrible acid reflux. I'm not sure if that's still the case nowadays. I took a Clear Muscle from Muscle Tech, which was Beta-Hydroxy Beta-Methylbutyrate in gel caps. At that time, a couple of years back, I would take 2 grams before the workout. The only thing that I noticed was that I was no longer sore. And this is on top of anabolic androgenic steroids. I didn't gain any strength. I didn't get any more muscular. I didn't adapt to strenuous workouts any more efficiently compared to taking anabolic androgenic steroids or creatine monohydrate for that matter. Right? My exercise performance didn't increase. But no matter how many sets I took to failure or beyond failure, the only thing that I noticed is that I was no longer sore. Not the day after a strenuous workout, or sometimes the same day of a strenuous leg day, when you already get sore in the evening and you can barely walk. No delayed onset of muscle soreness, no DOMS, a couple days after a strenuous workout. None of that. So if you're suffering from a lot of soreness, maybe you can look into HMB. It is a very pricey supplement. Don't expect to gain any muscle mass while using this supplement. But if you're suffering from terrible soreness, this supplement might be potent enough to help you with that. Again, I only used 2 grams of HMB at that time. I haven't used it since because I feel that the costs of HMB certainly aren't worth it. Again, you're not gaining any muscle tissue. The only thing that's really happening is that there's no soreness, which in some cases with a higher dose of anabolic androgenic steroids, you can get a comparable effect. Still, if you're not willing to go that route, 2 grams HMB, 1 hour before the workout, you'd have to use it every day. So I already experimented with 1 or 2 servings per week. That doesn't seem to mitigate the soreness as effectively, although it will still be able to reduce to a certain extent. So let's say you have 1 leg day per week, maybe the day before you take 2 grams of HMB, and the day of your leg day you take HMB, if you want the day after, considering the costs. And then the leg day soreness should be a lot less. Again, if you take it every day, the leg day soreness is probably not there anymore, no matter how hard you train. Very limited applications, but it might still be useful in particular settings. Next on the list are branched-chain amino acids. They're certainly not useless, but they have very limited practical applications. And again, when you rewind the clock, people would say that BCAAs are the solution to everything, right? Catabolic states during fasted cardio, BCAAs. Catabolic states in between meals, BCAAs. Catabolic states during the workout, BCAAs, right? BCAAs for everything. That's how touted it was way back when. Now, the only reason why I would recommend BCAAs to some of my clients is when you're sub 6% body fat, you're doing fasted cardio to get to 4% body fat, for example, whether you're using steroids or not. In that case, a couple grams of branched-chain amino acids would be beneficial to prevent catabolism during this fasted cardio session. But nowadays we understand that essential amino acids are actually more beneficial than branched-chain amino acids because, well, essential amino acids also contain branched-chain amino acids, plus a couple extra ones. So even though the dosing parameters might be a little bit higher, instead of 3 grams BCAAs, you would take 5 grams essential amino acids, or maybe double the amount. You would still get all of the benefits of branched-chain amino acids, but you have a broader spectrum of amino acids available, allowing for additional protein synthesis later on. I don't think it's necessary in any way, shape, or form to take branched-chain amino acids when you already had a meal before a workout. You might benefit from essential amino acids if you're training so hard that the meal before your workout or the couple meals before your workout, you're already burning through somewhere midway towards the end of your workout. Now, is that the case for me? No. Is that the case for you? Probably not. Unless you're a 120, 125 kilo bodybuilder that does very high volume and high weight workouts. If you're doing that on a daily basis, let's say 5 times a week, you're already eating a ton of food and it's still not enough to get you through your workout. All right. Maybe in that case, some essential amino acids, perhaps some high-branch cyclic dextrins in combination as an intra-workout will be beneficial. Maybe in that context, you're also using insulin to shuttle all of that goodness into the muscle, allowing for energy production and anti-catabolic states of the amino acids, preventing the breakdown of all that precious muscle tissue that you've built over the years that HMB was supposed to protect, but, well, didn't really play out in the end there. So that's why we have essential amino acids, perhaps in combination with high-branch cyclic dextrins. When you really train insane and actually need it to last you throughout the workout. Again, branched-chain amino acids, very limited practical applications, limited to fasted cardio states when you're single-digit body fat levels and you're dieting for a show or for a photo shoot, right? You don't have enough energy available and maybe your legs are weaker body parts. You need a little bit of BCAAs to prevent catabolism, muscle breakdown, in which case I would rather lean towards essential amino acids or, well, maybe look into glucagon or insulin injections instead, which, well, from my experience, are more anti-catabolic than any over-the-counter supplement you could get at the local grocery store, GNC, or online supplement shop. Next one on the list, not to be mistaken with hydroxymethylbutyrate, is BHB, Beta-Hydroxy Butyrate, a ketone salt set to get you into ketosis like that. Well, if only it was that simple. Following a ketogenic diet for the last 15 years or so, of course, I experimented with ketone salts in the form of beta-hydroxy butyrate. I wanted to find out that it doesn't really work. When you're in ketosis, your body produces adequate amounts of ketones, allowing you to be very cognitive. If you're in a fasted state or you're fasting for a couple days, serum ketone levels go up. In which case, maybe after 4 days or 5 days of fasting, when you start to get a little bit of anxiety, thinking about eating, now your ketone levels are quite high, but you still don't have sufficient amounts of energy because your body fat levels are going down, and the rate at which body fat is being released from the body is getting less and less and less. So now, even though you're in a deep state of ketosis, you still feel that you don't really have so much energy and cognition available. Again, this happens on day 4 or 5 of fasting. If you can last to day 6, well, then that's when it really gets brutal. And that's the only time where you notice a difference from ketone salts in the form of BHB supplementation. When you take these supplements, let's say you do your refeed on Sunday, right? You're in ketosis the entire week. You do your refeed on Sunday. You have maybe 500 grams of carbs. Monday morning, you're obviously not in ketosis because you have so much glycogen in your liver. Glycogen in skeletal muscle, which can't exit skeletal muscle. It's only the liver glycogen, which can be dumped into the bloodstream, keeping serum glucose concentration stable, allowing your brain to use this glucose for energy. So first, you have to remove the liver glycogen. Then you have to remove the brain glycogen. Then the liver will start to produce ketone bodies, allowing your brain to use these ketone bodies for energy. You can take a kilo of BHB, ketone salts. And your brain will not be in ketosis because you first have to remove the liver glycogen and then remove the brain glycogen, which goes away quite fast. Your brain doesn't hold so much glycogen. Most of the glycogen that can enter the bloodstream is coming from your liver in the form of maybe 70 grams of glycogen or maybe even more. So first you have to deplete that. You can do that in half a day by simply going back on a ketogenic diet, just by taking BHB ketone salts and that detecting as ketones on a ketone meter, whether that's a breath meter or a finger prick test where you check the blood for ketones, doesn't mean your brain is in ketosis. Man, the fitness industry back then, when they were trying to promote these ketone salts, all kinds of claims and none of them played out. BHB ketone salts don't make you any smarter. They don't put you in ketosis when there's plenty of liver glycogen present. If you want to be in ketosis, you take the carbs out, you start doing daily fasted cardio, and when the liver glycogen levels are depleted, it might take 2 weeks for you to become fat adapted and produce sufficient amounts of ketones. But once you're in ketosis, you control your diet. That's how you stay in ketosis. You don't need to supplement any ketone salts just to get you there magically, because it's not going to work like that. Next on the list, CBD. I know some of you guys are still using it, but again, rewind the clock a couple of years and CBD was everywhere. And I'm sure you bought it hoping that it will cure your inflammation, hoping that it will cure your joint pain and everything else, right? The only practical application of CBD oil, ideally with 0.5 or 2% THC, is to reduce anxiety and improve sleep quality. That's the only two things that I've noticed of CBD. Never did anything for joint inflammation, never did anything for systemic inflammation. All of these benefits of CBD, right? The nectar of the gods, besides Trenbolone being the nectar of the gods, CBD was supposed to be next level nectar of the gods. Every IFBB Pro had a discount code for CBD oil or CBD products. Where are those discount codes now? Who still promotes CBD? Nobody does, because it didn't work. Now, if you have anxiety, you want to take the edge off life, CBD with THC is going to help to a certain extent. If you have trouble sleeping, CBD with a percentage of THC is going to improve sleep quality. Now, you could say the same thing for kratom, even though kratom is still a lot more popular nowadays and actually has stood the test of time compared to these cannabinoid oils. Now, of course, the quality of cannabinoid oils were all over the place. Some of them were really, really good, really potent to reduce anxiety, improve sleep quality. Some of them were just MCT oil with a little bit of dash of CBD. Right? That's a supplement market for you. But to this day, I haven't met anybody in the fitness industry that told me with clear conviction, with a straight face, eye to eye, that CBD oil resolved all of their inflammatory markers and fixed their arthritis or knee pain or elbow pain or a skin condition caused by an inflammatory response. But I have met guys that were almost crying that told me, Steve, after I removed the synthetic carrier oils from my life, all of my issues went away. So you take something out to resolve the inflammation. You don't put something in to resolve the inflammation, right? It's not a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which in some cases leads to kidney failure. Okay, let's move on to the last one. Actually, a very useful supplement. It's been around for ages and people completely forget about it. Desiccated liver tabs. Yes, it's been around for decades and it still works, but everybody seems to have forgotten about it. Basically, desiccated liver tabs, ideally you want the non-defatted version, so not the defatted version where a lot of the fat-soluble vitamins have been removed. You want the non-defatted desiccated liver tabs, which is basically dehydrated and ground beef liver with all of the micronutrients contained within. So if you can't stomach beef liver, maybe desiccated liver tablets will be of benefit to you. High in vitamin A, high in B vitamins, high in iron. I noticed that a lot of women, when they compete, of course, they don't want to eat beef because it doesn't really digest well for a lot of women. So I would recommend desiccated beef liver tabs with a sufficient amount of iron. to help them with their periods. Again, a lot of women tend to lose their periods towards the end. So I would recommend desiccated liver taps with a lot of hema iron contained within and a lot of B vitamins to help with red blood cell production. And this seems to help with performance and ensuring that they would sustain their period. It's the same thing for guys. They would take a higher dose of desiccated liver taps to get a very high dose of vitamin A in and help control their acne. Again, decent amount of vitamin B12, a decent amount of iron. So you do have to keep track of your hematocrit and your red blood cell count and your ferritin levels if you decide to take desiccated liver taps that are non-defatted, because again, it contains iron and might induce erythropoiesis when you're already taking primobolan or boldenone or anything else. That increases hematocrit levels. So keep that in mind. Still, it's a highly beneficial supplement that everybody seems to forget about. Once in a while, you see an old timer, old schooler talk about desiccated liver taps, that it's the best thing ever. And I tend to agree, even though everybody's sleeping on the supplement. Now, there's a lot of alternatives. Of course, desiccated liver taps are not a suitable replacement for proper nutrition. But if you don't like beef, or you don't like beef liver, or you don't like cod, right, the cod liver oil, to get a lot of vitamin A in your diet to resolve acne, this might be a very beneficial supplement for you on top of your multivitamin or on top of the nutrition which you're already paying special attention to. So even though these 5 supplements seem to have gone with the wind, they might still have some practical applications, albeit extremely circumstantial and limited. Out of all of these, I would only consider to run HMB again. I did enjoy the reduction of muscle soreness, and I don't think I will ever run 2 grams of testosterone by itself ever again. So, right, that's a fair trade-off. You take the testosterone down a notch and you put the HMB back in to mitigate all of this soreness. Proper nutrition gives me all of the results I want out of life. I don't need to supplement on top to reduce inflammation or reduce acne for that matter. Right, I'm always in ketosis, always cognitive enough. I don't need any ketone salts. And well, BCAAs, well, I get plenty of leucine, isoleucine, and valine from my diet. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a look at the description section for everything that I'm associated with. You can find a link tree with discount codes for all the affiliates and sponsors that I highly believe in, companies that I always support and purchase products from myself. Have a look at the ultimate source list. If you're looking for over-the-counter supplement XYZ, if you don't know where to find it, just look at the source list. I'm sure there's a discount code and a direct link for it. Vigorous crew, you guys know what to do. A front double bicep for you guys. No HMB in these cannons, but maybe in the future. Never say never, because, well, muscle soreness is never fun. And especially when you train legs very, very hard and you need to sit down on the toilet the next day. Getting up is a chore all by itself. I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.